I ain't got nothing on there, so.
Yeah. Stream should be up at least. Yeah, there it is. I hate how I can't turn the audio down, like in the menu. You have to like wait until you're actually in the game to do it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, what? Of the actual game audio?
Yeah.
I see. Mine, I can do mine on my headset. Which is quite handy.
Like, I can turn the volume down on my headset, it's more just a case of, like, on stream, I don't want the cars to drown me out, but... Right, looks like they're getting ready to... So, hey there everyone, and welcome back to OBF1. We're here on a Monday for the second round. Of course, the first round wasn't streamed, just more of a tester session, I guess you could say. Wasn't streamed, just so everyone could find their foot a little bit properly. But we're here for round two. We're at the Bahrain International Circuit, a very, very good circuit. We saw, of course, a couple of weeks ago, the real Formula 1 circus travel to Bahrain, and the Formula 2 circus as well for the first round of 2021. We'll have to see how the OBF1 guys fare. One-shot qualifying and then a 50% feature, followed by a reverse top 8 50% sprint race, which could make things very interesting. Joined once again, am I, by Mitch. So, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Looks like we're in for a pretty good race. We've got a very, very full grid in Formula 2, and of course the nature of Formula 2 is to promote equal and very, very good racing. So with one-shot qualifying, everything's on the line, and then reverse top 8 as well. This could get very, very interesting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it. I mean, I've seen some of these guys racing in the F1 league, and in the F1 leagues they're close as it is. So the F2 cars, everything's very, very similar. So yeah, we should see some nice tight battles. Hopefully some wheel-to-wheel action.
Hopefully so. I mean, Bahrain does promote it a lot. You've got obviously turn 1 and turn 2, which really do cut back on each other. You've then got the long DRS zone down towards turn 4, where we've seen a lot of action in recent times as well. And of course, the track limits on the exit is something they're going to want to have to look out for. Don't want any FIA investigations, unlike real life. But you've also got the challenging corners such as turn 10, etc. But we'll go on board with Chris then. One-shot qualifying, it is going to be crucial they get a good lap in. Everyone opting for the medium compound tyre, so opting for the race-orientated strategy. Coming towards turn 1, braking just at the start of the curve there, a little bit earlier than the Formula 1 guys, but here Chris taking it very, very nicely. Going to be very, very cautious on the exit, and you can see not utilising that curve as much as he can. Bit shaky coming off a turn 3 towards turn 4. You want to be all the way to the left-hand side. Currently it's provisional P6, does Chris. Jim with an incredible start up in first place. We'll actually go on board with Jim, see how he's doing. An incredible driver, and one that's very quick in Formula 2 cars. Does go purple to the first sector and through the S's of turn 5, 6 and 7 and down towards turn 8. Just want to brake as soon as you're straight, hit that inside curb and just smash that apex very, very nicely. And then towards turn 9, you want to completely right off turn 9 and focus completely on turn 10. The downhill braking, very, very careful not to lock the fronts or the rears. The rears are very, very feisty in these Formula 2 cars. DRS wide open then as he comes on the run out of turn 10 towards turn 11, all the way to the right hand side, 2 wheels over the curb, and then braking just before the 50 board, just after the 100, round about the 75 mark, as we head up the hill again to another challenging corner of turn 13. Really got to stay tight to the curb, but don't want to get anywhere near mounting it, because that will just spin the car around instantly. Another purple sector for Jim. He is on an absolute fly here, and then he's only got a couple more corners left to go. 2 corners left to go precisely, a long straight, and then a very crucial corner where the exit is absolutely imperative you get it right. Use all the track going in. 3rd gear, get as close to that inside curb as you can. Don't want to mount it. There's a bit of camber to use on the inside. Here is Jim then. DRS wide open to give him that extra punch towards the line. What's it going to be? A 1:38.686, followed closely by H. Taylor with a 1:38.9. Those two were having it out in a practice lobby yesterday, and they're having it out tonight. P1 and P2, and a very close qualifying session there, Mitch.
Yeah, that was a nice lap there from Jim. I rode on board for that one as well. He hit the apexes he needed to hit, and kept those back wheels from spinning up. So he's put himself in the #1 position for the race. H. Taylor's going to want to try and get the jump off the line and get him into the first corner though. But again, it looks like these two are going to have another close battle as we've seen before.
Yeah, definitely. So he's in prime position to take the win. Then Jim takes pole ahead of Taylor, who's going to join him on the front row. Kimi in P3, Hawk P4, Folksy in P5, Crowix in P6, Hat in P7, F1 in P8, Pistol in P9, Sanchez in P10, Kieran in P11, Ghost P12, Frost in P13, Harv P14. Surprisingly, you usually see Harv up there, but Lucifer in P15, Chris in P16, CDM, and then not being able to put a lap in the Trident, disqualified due to probably what I'd assume to be track limit, so we'll have to be starting from the back of the grid. But as long as he gets himself to the top 8, it'll be reverse grid pole, so still definitely all to play for.
I'm equally as shocked about Harv being down there. Maybe something didn't quite go together in his lap, and he just cruised around and made sure he didn't corner cut. But yeah, that's a shock to see him so low down the grid.
Definitely, especially sort of about 7 seconds off he was, which is definitely not something you see Harv do very often. I mean, definitely a very difficult circuit to hook up is Bahrain, especially down into turn 10. If you lock the rears, you are going sideways, and there is no doubt about that. It is a very challenging circuit to hook up, and especially in Formula 2 machinery, those rears are so lethal. If you're running no ABS, you honestly... I'm sure most people can back me up. If you're running 50% brake bias, which really does help when it comes to braking, if you're not careful with the trail braking, you leave the trail braking too late. Those rears are just going to snap on you. There is no bringing them back. And of course, around the hot sunny skies of Bahrain, as we can see today, you're going to want to keep those tyres alive and keep the temperatures within a nice, comfortable window.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad to see that we've got a dry race as well, because some of the drivers were worried before the race in case there was a bit of rain. So everyone's got their setups in place. There can be no question now about anyone who's not prepared for this race now, because I know there was a practice lobby running earlier on. So these guys, they're going to have the setups in place, and it's just going to be out-and-out battle from start to finish, hopefully.
Pretty much 16 laps of the Bahrain International Circuit, around about 5 kilometers if I do remember correctly. I don't have the information with me, but around about 5 kilometers is Bahrain, and there is a lot of loops, but we're on the international loop. The normal one you typically see, of course, we've had the endurance loop that is used for the WEC. We've got the outer loop, which has never been used apart from the 2020 Sakir Grand Prix, where we saw heartbreak for George Russell, and some very good racing in Formula 2. Of course, the championship decider, where Mick Schumacher obviously took the championship win ahead of Callum Ilott. Let's see what Jim and Taylor can do, though. Two very quick guys in these Formula 2 machineries. Jim just getting the better of Taylor in qualifying, and I'm sure Taylor is not going to be happy with that. He wants to get onto the back of him. He wants to make sure he can get him into turn 1. Of course, the pole will be starting on the inside, I do believe, so correct me if I'm wrong, but pole starts on the inside and second starts on the outside, so it's crucial he gets a good start, maybe to dummy to the inside, send it around the outside. Turn 2, if he can keep it on the outside, we'll have the inside. But everyone on the grid opting for the medium compound tyre, apart from Harvey, who's gone something a little bit different. He's gone for the hards, maybe to go longer. He knows he's had a messed up qualifying, he wants to go longer, maybe to prolong it and have a really quick end to the race.
Yeah, I mean, again, he knew something wasn't quite right in the qualifying session, so why not try something different and see how you get on? You see little Jim is now back in the pack up as he approaches the final corner. He doesn't want to sit on the start-finish line for too long and let his tyres cool down. So the pack will be backed up, and then he comes round through the final 2 corners. Last little wiggle to get some more heat in the tyres. So H. Taylor could be playing a little game here. He's backed off a little bit, made a little gap, but I don't think Jim's tyres will cool down that much in that gap there.
Hopefully not. I mean, the new, I believe it's 18-inch real rims now. There's less rubber, so they are a lot easier to warm up. Now there's less rubber on the, obviously on the tyre, so a lot easier to warm up, but back in the grid up, so he doesn't have to wait too long, as you said, sat on the grid, because the likes of P7 and 8, Hatton and Immortal, who have both started so far, who were disqualified so early on, will have such little tyre heat in those tyres. But here we go then, the green flag's been waved, we get ready to go to 5 red lights ahead of the Bahrain Formula 2 Grand Prix. Just waiting for the lights to come on now. Here we go then to 5 red lights, revving the cars up. We've got 2 Tyrants at the front, and we're underway and racing for round 2 of the OBF1 Formula 2 racing. It's a great start from the Polestar, who H. Taylor needs to get in front of. He's in the slipstream. They're going to go 3 abreast further back. It looks as though Immortal's looking to make a good start, but Jim leads ahead of Taylor, ahead of Kimmy, and Hawkpie looking to get involved. He's got his Foxy on the outside, into the inside of turn 2. Everyone just trying to file their way through. We've got Hawkpie on the back of Kimmy then, in the slipstream, up towards turn 4. Here they go. Here he goes. There's defensive to the inside goes Kimmy, going to back to the racing line, to the outside, tries to go to the Prema, but can't quite find a way through. Can Hawkpie, as they all try and follow their way through turn 4, and it looks as though Jim has got a comfortable lead ahead of Taylor. That is the perfect start he could have asked for.
Yeah, he got himself off the line very well, so he didn't give himself any pressure into the first corner. He could get the perfect line, hit the apex, and then shoot up the hill towards turn 4. So yeah, perfect start for Jim. H. Taylor's going to look to keep within that 1 second gap behind him, but as you see, the gap's up to half a second now, so Jim really is driving well at the start of this race.
Really is trying to get the lead, get the foothold he needs. He's got a couple of laps just to try and extend the gap as much as he can, but Taylor isn't going to let him. Of course, in F1 2020, you are not allowed to change the fuel mode or the engine mode of these Formula 2 cars. It is just flat out driving to the end, so there's no overtake, there's no rich mix. It is just flat out use the slipstream to the best of your ability, and everyone just trying to funnel their way through. We've got a little battle going on here between Immortal and SYG Ghost. They're going to go side by side through turn 13, but he's got caught up on the curb a little bit. There's a bit of contact. Oh, 3 abreast. There goes Frostbit, completely caught up in that, innocent bystander in that. It looks as though F1 was just off the track a little bit too much. Everyone trying to funnel the way through. They're going to be 4 abreast further up. Here is Hatton then in the middle of it all, trying to find the way through. A bit of ding-dong battle with SYG on the inside. He's going to send it, but going a bit too deep. There's F1 going to get the cutback in Marcus Armstrong's car there and get a nice little cutback, but here comes Hatton then on the back of SYG Ghost. This is the fight for reverse grid pole. They need to get back in front, and F1 Immortal needs to get and hang on to that 8th position. Probably not going to benefit him too much if he gets into 7th, but the gap is a little bit too big. SYG going a little bit deep towards turn 1, just trying to defend the inside. He's got a bit of damage to the front left end plate, and there goes Hatton. He's got a nice little cutback coming off turn 3, but just going to plain understeer off the circuit there. Definitely not what he wants to do. But everyone, this is a lovely little midfield battle going on here. A lot of ding dong going on, but Lucifer on the inside then of Kieran. I'm not too sure what position this is for, because the timing glitch appears to be striking again, but CDM trying to get up the inside of Hatton. It looks as though it's going to sort itself out now. This is for P13, and they need to get their heads down and start moving, because this is only going to set their qualifying, well, this is essentially their qualifying for the next race, and they need to make sure they can benefit as best they can. But at the moment, it says Sanchez is leading the way. That is definitely not the right. That's going to be Little Jim leading the way ahead of Taylor, who's just going to be hanging in there. He needs to wait for DRS. Lap 2 and then lap 3 will get the DRS, so he just needs to stay within 1 second. That's obviously going to be his plan. He just needs that foothold to stay with him. But Jim showing some incredible pace at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like H. Taylor's actually gone a little bit quicker in this second lap than the first. The gap opened out quite early on, but it looks like Taylor's actually settled into a bit of a rhythm now, and he's keeping the gap around the 7/10 mark, which is what he needs to do to be able to enable the DRS. And then he can actually start putting some more pressure on Jim. Because at the moment, Jim looks in a commanding position, but obviously the DRS, there's 3 zones here around the Bahrain circuit. It's going to be very powerful for either driver or any driver that does use it.
Exactly that. I mean, DRS now enabled. He's going to have the detection point down towards turn 4, so he is now got that foothold. He's within the 1 second. This is the crucial 1 second. Now within that foothold, he's got the tow hook latched onto the rear diffuser. Jim couldn't do what he was setting out to do for the first 3 laps, and now Taylor needs to pump in those laps, be consistent with it, don't let him get away, and then he should be okay to try and stay with him, even if it's just a bit of pressure. Maybe bait Jim into a mistake or whatever it might be, but the important thing is he's now not letting him get ahead. Further back though, we've still got this little battle going on. We've got Hatton on the inside of Lucifer coming towards turn 4, braking nicely, looking to the outside, isn't quite going to convert. Going to go for a nice little switchback. He's going to have the exit coming towards the exit. This is only for P11, but they're fighting very, very nicely, Hatton and Lucifer. Very nicely between the Dams and the MP Motorsport car as they come towards turn 8, but it looks as though Hatton's just going to hang on to this one for the time being. Nice little train going on as well, and that is only going to be reinforced with DRS, but it looks as though Taylor has actually dropped out of the 1 second range of Jim in front. He's actually had an amazing middle and first sector to hang on and get out of that DRS range. So Taylor needs to get pushing now. He needs to find that little extra pace that Jim has over him. 3/10 the gap was in qualifying. It looks as though that's transferred over to the race because Jim is pushing. He knows how crucial it is to stay at that DRS range and try and cruise to victory, and Taylor just needs to stay with him. Does not want to let him get away because that is going to be a big hit to his confidence if he lets him get away. Taylor needs to get in, and then at least then it's more of a breath of fresh air just to say, okay, I'm in DRS, I can chill. But 1.2 seconds is the gap. Jim with an even quicker lap, 4/10 quicker than what H. Taylor did the lap previously. So he is now pushing, and he wants to get himself up the road and start pushing because at the moment he's got the pace to take this win.
Yeah, but I wasn't sure whether that was just a slow middle sector there from Taylor, but coming up with Jim's lap time there, he must have just hit every apex and hit that middle sector perfectly to create that gap. It's slowly creeping up again now. We're nearly at 1.4 seconds, so it does look like Jim's got the pace at the moment, as we see a 5-second penalty for Frostbit for speeding in the pit lane. That's not going to help his cause at the moment after he's been in a little incident. We see him slipping down now. He's in 16th position, so let's see if he can actually pull himself together and try and find a result in this Grand Prix.
Fingers crossed. Nice little battle going on for P8. Reverse grid pole. CDM's going to want this over Immortal. They've been battling it out for a little bit. Immortal goes a bit deep through turn 7, so CDM has the look to the outside. Sends Immortal in very, very deep off the track, and very nicely done from CDM to bait him into that. And that is going to be him cruising to reverse grid pole into 8th position. And that is some class mental game preparation there from CDM to set it up. Immortal under pressure, couldn't quite hang on. We got the UNI Virtuosi of Harv on the back of Chris. Remember, on the half compound tyres, so it is going to be a little bit slower. Chris looking to the inside, Harv looking to go even deeper to the inside, but couldn't quite convert, so he's going to go to the outside. I believe HWA Race Lab going to come even all the way to the right hand side just to cover it off, and Harv looking to get on the power as much as he can, almost pushing him through turn 12 and 13, really all over the back of him as they end sector 2. Just needs to stay with him. He's going to have DRS soon, but it looks as though Harv hasn't quite got as much pace as we hoped. Remember, he is on the half compound tyres, but H. Taylor coming into the pit lane, a 5-second time penalty given to the man who was fighting so hard for the race lead. Just broke a little bit too late, unfortunately, as they come into the pits. Going for the proactive strategy, though, very interestingly. Who is going to come into the pits? It looks as though Chris is going to come into the pits as well. So it looks like we are around that pit window as Chris picks himself up a 5-second time penalty. So it looks as though the pit lane isn't too nice to some people around here.
Yeah, I mean, Taylor's going to be kicking himself. He's gone to come in early and get the undercut potentially on Jim, even just to claw back a little bit of the gap to try and give himself a fighting chance, and he's given himself that 5-second penalty, which could now put him under pressure from Kimi just to get second place in the race. So he's going to be kicking himself for doing that there.
Really is. It's such a heartbreak. You go in fully committed under the brakes, and then you find out you've spared probably about a couple of miles an hour, a couple of kph, and it is so frustrating to see. But he's got to get his head down now and push more than ever. Nice little battle going on here for provisional P2 between Hawk and Kimi. I've been battling it out for a little while now. Just the gap slowly creeping down. We've also got Folksy on the back of him. This could get interesting then, the fight for the podium places. Of course, with H. Taylor's penalty, he's gonna be on the back foot and maybe even losing the positions to these guys behind. Which is going to be crucial, that they need to get their head down, maybe work together instead of fighting it out to stay in front of Taylor and get within his 5-second range. But looks as though Hawk's by falling off a little bit. Maybe his tyres a little bit more worn than Kimi's in front, and he's just able to use the tyre a little bit more efficiently. Who's coming into the pits this lap then? Looks as though the race leader's in. Kimi dummies to the pit lane to bait Hawk Pie a little bit, but they're going to stay out. They're going to go for the overcut. Could this cost them in this race? Maybe if they've still got the pace in those tyres, they can hang on. But Folksy has done the right thing. He stayed out with the DRS partner. He's going to have the DRS to help him, and he's going to have someone to come out with the DRS as well. As CDM gets a 5-second penalty as well. The pit lane has claimed more victims in this race than a wall has. Just speeding that little bit too much going into the pit lane. The 37 miles an hour pit limit range. really, really, really costing people today. He's going to strap on the hard compound tyres, of course, the mandatory compound stage, and he's got held in the pits a little bit as well. But here we go. Here's Harv on the back of Lucifer, still battling with the dams. It is the UNI Virtuosi. And this is for P3 on the road. Probably not going to be P3 by the end of it. Probably more close to around about the 10th place mark. But still on the back of him nonetheless. And Folsky still on the back of Hawkeye. But a very, very crucial part of the race. These pit stops, you need to get the timing right. You don't want to stay out too early. You don't want to come in too early and come out in traffic. You don't want to stay out too late and lose too much time with the degrading tyres. You need to time it right. And it'll be interesting to see who's done that, as Folksy is now on the back of Hawk.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether these guys have actually forgotten about the pit stop and getting in when they need to, because it looks like they're more interested in battling each other than thinking about the bigger picture, which could, in theory, actually be costing them time. So, as we see, IHAV has just picked up a 3-second penalty, which isn't going to help him in trying to claw back from being at the back of the grid. Let's see if these two, Hawkeye and Folksy, both dive into the pits this lap. I'd be shocked if they didn't, because these tyres must be wearing thin now.
One's in, one's out.
Folks, he stayed out. Okay. Oh, and Hawkeye gets the speed of the penalty as well.
It's almost as if you don't get a penalty, you're going to be all right. But is that Krawick's getting past Sanchez? We've seen a lot of moves through turn 13. Must be a lot of brave souls to send it around the outside, and Sanchez just backing off. Must have got caught on the curb there and just wanted to back off. Did not want any part of that at all, because a little bit of understeer, clip in the side pod of the car in front, and with Codemasters you just get sent round. It's never the guy on the outside, it's always the guy on the inside, and side by side goes Chris with F1 through turn 13 and onto the back straight. Bit of a tank slapper from Chris in the high-tech GP car behind the ART of Marcus Armstrong. That is driven by Immortal, coming towards the final corner, or well, I should say the penultimate corner. The final corner isn't a corner so long as you get this one right. Immortal goes in a little bit too deep, unfortunately, on that particular occasion. Immortal going straight defensive because Chris has had such a good exit off that final corner, and with DRS it's a drag race towards turn 1, as there is, I believe, Lucifer now leaving the pit lane, and Chris has gotten ahead before the corner, brakes nicely, a little bit too deep, has to use first gear to get it stopped, but nicely done. And now onto the back of Lucifer. He needs to get pushing before his tyres are turned on. CDM around the outside of Dave, trying to get it done. Dave goes in a little bit too deep. Dave, I should say, Pete. I've always called him Dave. I don't know. I'm not too sure why. It's just got Dave in my head. I seriously don't know why. But Pete, being under pressure from CDM.
I've watched this battle here sort of over the last few corners, and we know from a couple of previous races that Pete is very good at positioning his car in defence. And it looks like he's continuing this now. He's putting it in the right place on every corner and not actually allowing CDM to get the run that he needs to get past him. So we'll see here on this DRS straight as well. What we've got a 3/10 gap at the moment. So is that going to be enough for him to send it up the inside, or again, Pete's positioning his car lovely, and it looks like there's no way through for CDM at the moment.
Definitely not. I mean, 9 seconds off reverse grid pole as it stands, so this is now just a battle to try and keep it in P9. And as you said, Pistol, or I should say Pete, Dave, whatever you want to call him, just hanging on so brilliantly. He just positions the car so nice as Jim sets the fast lap of the race. Now with lighter fuel, despite being on the hard tyres, but he's got a bit of a shaky exit, has Pete, coming off the final corner. And here comes CDM to the inside of the penultimate corner. Can he get it up the inside, or is Pete going to go around the outside, leave him to dry a little bit off track and not going to get the most optimal exit? And of course CDM going to have the DRS down this pit straight once again, and to the inside goes Pete, but he's going to have the outside for T1, which if he sends it under the brakes should be okay. But is he going to have to concede, because CDM's got so much overspeed under the brakes at nearly 200 miles an hour? Around the outside goes Pete. He's going to go for it. Bit swamped on the curb goes CDM. Is he going to claim the corner? Yes, he is. Pete trying to stay on the inside, but can't quite do it. He's going to have the DRS up the hill, picks himself up a 3-second penalty, but it looks as though CDM now gets himself onto reverse grid pro after pit stops fit themselves out.
Yeah, as I say, it turns out that this was actually for the pole position. We still do have IHAV to pit as well, which I assume he'll be coming in within the next 2 or 3 laps. Let's see how far he drops down. I guess he's going to fall behind these guys who are battling at the moment. But yeah, I mean, let's see if Pistol can actually get himself back past TD. It does look like there's been a bit of a gap that's opened up now. It's all about this braking point here. CDM kisses the apex nice, gets some nice speed out of the corner. 7/10, yeah, there's going to be no overtake made here from Pete, but he's just got to hang in within that DRS zone and hope maybe that CDM makes a bit of a mistake and he can get back past.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, CDM, he's gotten through, he's done the hard part, but Pete does not give up easily. He's going to stay within that DRS, try and find a little bit more pace in himself. You always go quicker when you're behind someone. You find that instinct to go quicker, that drive to find more pace, and that's exactly what Pete's doing. He's now within the DRS, he's got the slipstream, and is actually managing to stay with him. It's one thing to catch up, it's another thing to pass, and then it's another thing to drive away, and CDM is finding that out the hard way as well. Foski on the back of Hawkpie in the Campos, on the back of what I believe to be the Prema of Hawkpie in front. I've also got Kimmy closing up behind now within DRS range. DRS up the hill towards turn 4. It's not quite going to be close enough. Hawkpie covering off a DRS very, very nicely. We've now passed the halfway point of the race, so they've gone probably a third to 2/3 of the way on the mediums, and then they're going to go the rest on the hards, which is probably the wiser decision. Probably seven laps on the mediums, 11ish laps on the hards, which is probably going to be the best option to do so. Or I should say 9 laps on the hards. My maths was completely wrong there. I promise I'm taking higher maths at school. I'm not that stupid.
I mean, we're obviously going to have Harv coming out on a quicker tyre, so I'm interested to see what sort of times he'll be able to put in, because we've already seen the times of these guys with the lighter fuel load improve a lot, and with Little Jim's fastest lap on the harder tyres, you can see that there is still some pace on this track. So the lighter car with the medium tyres that Harv, I assume, will be putting on, he should be flying, and we should see some moves from him to try and get himself up the order after his stop.
We'll just have to see when he comes out, because Jim is closing so quickly. Now, Foski on the back of Hawkpie for P4 will be the fight for the podium when pit stops filter themselves out and Harv finally comes into the pit. He's shown to have some great pace. Hawkpie a little bit too deep, but Foski mounting that curve a bit too much. Kimmy all over the back of him now. A 3-way fight for 3rd place. It is so decisive, and this is Foski's saving grace that he's got DRS, but here comes Kimmy. He's got so much overspeed. Going to go to the inside. Bit of contact to the rear diffuser of the Prema. They're going to be 3 abreast towards turn 1. The Campos on the outside going to swoop all the way around the outside. Kimmy threads the needle through the middle, going to have the inside on the Prema. Now through turn 2, the Prema's going to leave him to drive around the outside, and the Campos looking to get up the inside of the Prema as well. So close. They're all trying to battle their way up the front, and Campos on the inside of the Prema. Here comes Foski on the inside of Hawkpie, and Kimmy making the most of all of this. Bit of a slide through there. They're still going to be side by side coming towards the exit, and Hawkpie just about going to hang on to that one.
Yeah, that was a great bit of battle in there, and everyone's showing each other some respect as well. There was a little bit of contact on the rear diffuser coming up the start-finish line, but other than that, everyone gave themselves some lovely bit of space. Kimmy, as you say, threaded it through the gap just as he needed to, and then got himself off. And now Hawkpie and Foxy look like they're going to continue the battle, and Kimmy could drive away from this.
It's definitely going to be the plan, but Hawkpie is not going to give this up. He's still within DRS, and it looks as though Foski's used up a bit too much tyre. He needs to recompose himself after what was an incredible battle, but you can see how much more track Kimmy uses to open up the angle of that corner to help him propel it, and you can see the exit it gives him up the hill just really helps him opening that original corner up, and that could be sort of something Hawkpie writes down and notes for next lap, but he's still within the DRS range and hopefully can launch the attack. But Kimmy with some great pace. When is Harv going to pit? Now he's into the pits, so he's now coming in. Jim will retake the race lead, followed by Taylor, who's still got the 5-second penalty, remember, but 8 seconds back to Kimmy. He may be okay, just about. Foski on the back of Hawkpie, still all going to have DRS, but where is Harv going to come out? This is the question. Only 1 man per tyre in Formula 2, but still some pretty quick pit stops. Nicely done from the UNI Virtuosi guys. Where is he going to come out? Here comes Crowbox. Here comes CDM through the final corner after a nice little battle with Pete. Still going at it are these two for reverse grid pole. Where is Harv coming out? He's driving out the pit lane now. Where is the pit limit line? Here comes. It is going to be very close indeed. Where is Harv? He's now dropped the pit limiter so close, but won't be able to get back up to speed on the fresh medium tyres, and these two battling. He could find himself in a very good position for the reverse grid race. Needs to find at least one more position though, otherwise he's going to be starting P9. It is crucial he gets these tyres warmed up.
Yeah, I mean, he's actually dropped back a lot further than I thought he would. I would presume he was going to come out around sort of the 5th or 6th mark, so obviously with the slower pit stops from Formula 1, that's obviously what I've not taken into consideration there. So he's going to want to get these tyres, as you say, warm as quick as possible, hopefully get past these two guys and try and get on the road towards Crowix. 12.5 seconds between CDM and Crowix is going to be tough, but we don't know what sort of speed he's going to be able to get on these medium tyres once they're activated.
No, definitely not. Here goes Hawkpie, though, looking around the outside of Kimi, looking for the counter-attack. Very nicely done is the Prema on the Dam's car. Then to the inside of turn 13, bit of wheel spin and over the curb. Still going to be side by side, though, and Kimi using a bit more of a liberty on the track exit. But there goes Foski trying to get on the back of the Prema and sets up a nice little switchback. Goes under the car as he goes through turn 13, and Kimi's now saving graces to hope that these two battle, and they're going to be side by side towards the final corner of turn 14. Can he get it on the inside? Just about going to mount the curb, and the Prema goes a little bit off the track, goes a little bit wide, brings it back on, and the Campos with DRS is surely going to storm past and storm ahead of the Prema. So Hawkpie turns offence to defence, and he'd not be able to convert on this occasion, and managed to actually have to look backwards rather than forward, but going to send it under the brakes towards turn 1. Very nicely done from the Prema, who again mounts the curb and allows Foski to go around the outside. Still going to be side by side again, pretty much deja vu to a couple of laps ago. Both going to have DRS up the hill, and this is Kimi just trying to get away, but he can't quite find the pace to break free. Hawkeye very deep into turn 4, could give Foski again the look to the inside, but Hawkeye with the traction on the exit. Half as well, 1.3 off pistol. He is closing, and he needs to close fast. 4 laps left. It's probably in his best interest to only go for Pete and only get himself on reverse grid pole, and I'm sure that's going to be in his best interest to do so. But back at the battle for P4, and Kimi now spreading his legs, nearly 1 second clear. Hawkeye just going to hang on to that DRS low, and he's going to have that foothold just about to hang on, but it won't be for long unless Kimi can do something, because Kimi just needs to push and get himself out of this 1 second range, and these two just needs to stop battling. They need to work with each other, and it seems as though as long as, with this little battle with 3, as long as you're the guy in front, you should be okay.
Yeah, the other guys behind are sort of tangling each other up and in turn slowing each other down. So that's how Kimi managed to. Well, it looks like he's out of the 1 second zone. He's gone very wide out of that corner there. So that's going to give. No, he's still stayed 1.2. So he's kept his foot down on the way out there. It's going to have given him a warning. He's got to be close to getting a penalty now, because there's a couple of turns he's run wide on. So he's going to want to try and make sure he keeps his car on the track and not get a penalty, because Hawkeye's got a penalty at the moment, so he's going to drop down. But if Kimi does get a penalty, he could potentially drop behind Hawkeye, Folksy, and maybe Crowix as well, as we see him go side by side into the first turn. No contact again. It's very fair racing from these guys. But again, this little battle they're having has allowed Kimi now to get 1.7 seconds up the road, which probably puts him out of danger. And it turns from a 3-car battle to a 2-car battle.
Yeah, 2 horse to 3 horse. Foski and Hawkeye still going at it as well. Further back, Harv on the back of CDM and Pistol. Still going to be side by side though as Hawkeye and Foski. He just can't seem to get his way through. But we're just going to turn away because Harv is on the back of Pistol and he's got in front of CDM as well. Doesn't know where to go. Pistol to the inside, parking the car nicely, but there goes Harv. Going to swoop around the outside, keep the foot in and get it around the outside of turn 4 where we saw Max Verstappen do it. But there goes Pete. He's trying to keep his foot in, and CDM trying to find his gap to get through as well. Trying to make the most of this little battle that Harv's doing, and he's got himself into reverse grid P2, and Pistol has got himself into reverse grid pole, and CDM needs to at least find 1 position. But back up then, we've got Foski looking to the inside of Hawkeye into turn 11, gets it stopped, has to mount the curb though. We've seen a lot of that, but they're giving each other a lot of racing room, as you said. Very fair, very, very tough racing between these two. Don't want to give an inch, but also keeping it very fair and respectful. And this fight for P4, and they've both got penalties. Kimi doesn't, so he just needs to close 5 seconds to Taylor in 3 laps. Probably easier said than done, as Kieran retires from the session in the pit lane. But here he goes then. Here's Foski then to the inside of the penultimate corner. They've also got Crowix behind, bit of contact and a bit shaky from the Campos as the Prema goes very, very wide, and Crowix now within the DRS range. So this could get a bit spicy, could turn back into a 3-horse race for P4, as Kimi now 4 seconds up the road. Hawkeye hasn't got the DRS, he hasn't got the track reduction system, but he's got the slipstream, looks to send it to the inside. We're just going to back out of that one and probably think better of it. Mounting the curb again, that's not going to help him, bit shaky, and Foski now in front. Has this pace been bottled up behind the Prema? Now he's free. Is he more of an uncaged lion? Ready to
Crowix has had enough there. He's lost the back end, so he put himself in a perfect position then with both the guys in front of him having penalties. He's now dropped 7 seconds down the road. So he was actually on for a P4 finish potentially there, but I don't know whether he's dropped the rear end out of the first and second turn. But yeah, he's now 7 seconds back down the road, so he's going to have to start clawing this back. But again, like Kimi, this is a pretty impossible task to climb that many seconds, in 2 or 3 laps.
Yeah, exactly. And now Pistol, I don't know why I keep saying Dave, it's really strange how I've got that in my head, but he's now fallen off the top 8 and now towards P9, 7/10 off the back of CDM, and he's now got himself back into reverse grid pole, and Harv absolutely flying up to P7 from where he started down in P14, I believe. Very, very good stuff from him to claw his way back up. The position change of 7 and CDM up 9 as well, so great recovery drives from these two. And Pete just trying to stay with him in DRS. This is going to be a little bit of a tussle. Jim again even goes faster. I don't know how he finds more pace in that car. CDM picks himself up 3 seconds. Could this be a battle decided on penalties? CDM with 11. Oh, it is most certainly going to be decided on penalties. So Pistol probably going to find himself on reverse grid pole. Just needs to keep it clean, keep it tidy. Hawkpie with 3 seconds as well. Crowix may still be able to claw it back. 5 seconds he needs to be within, and he's got 7 seconds. So 2 seconds in 2 laps. It could be done. Probably more realistic than Kimi. And actually, Taylor has got 5 seconds. So Kimi only needs 3, but still very, very tough task to ask with him. Yeah,
I mean, Crowix, he's probably actually a bit unlucky that Folksy and Hawkpie have stopped battling. There's a sort of an 8/10 gap there, because that was slowing them both down. It could have got Crowix back into the reckoning to get past Hawkpie, but it looks like Folksy's managed to claw a bit of a gap there, as we see it creep to about a second now. So hopefully, for Hawkpie's sake, they don't battle and he just brings the car home, and then he'll actually get his 5th position.
Yeah, I mean, just needs to drive it home. I still P6 is a very, very good position to be in. CDM went very wide off the exit of turn 3. They're allowed Pistol to get his way back through and down towards turn 8 on the penultimate lap of this race. It's gone very quickly. We've had a lot of nice battles up and down the grid. Hopefully it's going to be even more transferred towards the sprint race, which will be in a moment's time. But Pistol goes a bit deep towards turn 10, doesn't go all the way off to the runoff area like we've seen a lot of people do beforehand. But CDM on the back of Pistol. This is more now just a battle of pride as well, because CDM's going to get jumped from Chris Matt if he's not helpful. If he's not careful behind, and Jim still going faster, still finding pace. Pistol very deep, and he's going to invite CDM to go around the outside of turn 13. Very nice stuff, and Pistol having to concede there as they trundle through towards this little loop back onto this back straight. Very long back straight. Surprised there's no DRS, but probably there's enough DRS zones on the circuit. They don't want to add a 4th. But it does make sense to put a DRS zone here. I'm not entirely sure why they'd put it from turn 10 to 11. That's more of a short straight, but nonetheless, the FIA is of their own. Pistol, though, on the back of CDM, onto the final lap of the race now. Jim leads the way ahead of Taylor, ahead of Kimi and Folksy in P4. Hawkpie rounds off the top 5, but Crowix very close behind. Here comes Pistol. We're not going to send it into that corner. We've had a spinner through turn 13. That may be Ghost, I believe. And I don't believe it is Ghost. CDM goes very wide, big snap of oversteer, and this could allow Pistol to get himself to the inside. Looks for the under and over switchback maneuver, but can he get it towards turn 4? Going to back off and maybe just think better of it. Hawkpie,
yeah, it looks like he's playing this very safe.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't.
He knows the penalty situation, so all he's got to do. I mean, the only way he'd be making the overtake here is for a little bit of pride and the on-track position. But to me, it looks like he's playing it smart and just going to bring the car home. And he'll be starting in the 8th position, which is he'll be finishing 8th position, which is the perfect place to start the next race.
Definitely. So he's just playing it safe. Knows he doesn't need to take any risks. Just needs to drive it home, keep it where it is, and he's in the prime position to do a very, very good job for the next race and put himself in that prime position. And the CDM he knows that. He doesn't want to do anything silly either and just wants to drive it home. But Jim does take the win. I didn't even realise he goes across the line to take the win ahead of Taylor, and Kimi a few seconds later will round off the podium places. Very, very good race and very dominant display from Jim from start to finish. Drove brilliantly. Taylor taking the fastest lap on the final lap, so the pace was there. Here's Folksy, closely followed by Hawkpie. He takes P4 ahead of P5, and Crowix, has he done enough to get it within the penalty range? It doesn't look like he is, so he's going to cross the line in P6, and Harv and CDM and Pistol will all finish. Who's gone very, very wide as Pistol. This could cost him maybe a penalty or two. Nope, just about going to hang on to that one, and it isn't going to cost him a position. Harv P7, CDM P8, but Pistol jumps to P7 after penalty, so Harv is going to have reverse grid pole, Chris into P9, and CDM down to P10. Here comes Immortal across the line to finish at P11 ahead of Lucifer. These two had a bit of a tussle earlier on in the race, crosses the line, Lucifer takes 11th ahead of Immortal, and then CYG, Ghost, and then Hatton a few seconds later. But it's been an incredible bit of display of racing up and down. We had Jim and Taylor have a bit of a tussle early on. We had Kimmy, Folksky and Hawkpie all have an incredible battle, and then of course Pistol, Harv and CDM.
Yeah, the Pistol and CDM battle seems to go on for about 10 or so laps, so I mean they're quite close to each other. Well, actually no, saying that, they're not going to be very close to each other on the next grid, are they? Because we'll have CDM further down, but hopefully that battle can reignite in the second sprint race.
Yeah, because Pistol just seems to always squirm his way out of trouble. Just puts it nicely, parks it very, very nicely as Chris takes drive of the day. No dispute there, drove brilliantly from what I believe to be towards the back of the grid. But yeah, overall a great race, and we're going to be treated to another one in a few moments' time. Just need to wait for people to load in, and then we'll be on the grid for the reverse grid race. I believe it's around about 10 or so laps. But Jim takes the win ahead of Taylor and Kimmy rounding off the top three. The top three staying stationed from their starting positions, with Taylor taking the fastest lap. Folsky in P4 with Hawkpie in P5. Crowix from P6 to P6 and Pistol into P7. Harv on reverse grid pole from 14th on the grid, finishes at P8. Chris P9, CDM at P10, Lucifer P11, F1 Immortal in P12. See what SYG goes to in P13, Hatton P14, Frostbit, Sanchez and Kieran all DNFing from the Grand Prix, the only three to DNF, so it looks as though most people kept it clean, and what they did, well, it was very much kept clean despite some very, very intense battling. We didn't see too much contact.
No, there was some very fair battles in there, and it just shows the level of driving that we've got in this league at the moment. They know that it's going to be fair. You can send the car up the inside and not have to worry about somebody turning in on you. It's a good league to be in at the moment.
It really is. Just goes to show how much they've gained in such little time. Of course, 2 months ago this league wasn't a thing, but now they've got a lot of quick drivers, a lot of fair drivers, and a lot of loyal drivers to keep it going. And of course, all broadcasted and streamed by myself and you. To bring you all the action. So yeah, definitely a very, very fast growing league, and one you know, if you want to get yourself involved in, if you're watching at home, do not hesitate to reach out and get involved, because it's a great league, a great bunch of people and a great community to get yourself involved in. If you want a bit of fair fun racing, it's obviously not at all toxic like you see some leagues do. It's everyone just gets on and knows what they're here for, which is a bit of fun, clean racing. Exactly. Like we just saw on display there.
Yeah, exactly. We don't seem to have any bickering in this league at the moment, so as I say, it's a nice place to be. Everyone knows they're going up against other fair drivers. Any drivers that don't race fairly, they get a couple of warnings. If their driving doesn't improve, then we move them on. But at the moment, everyone seems to be driving fair and respectful towards each other. So yeah, it's a good place to be.
Not much you can really ask for, you know. Even if something doesn't go your way, of course, it's just more a case of yeah, no worries, man. Yeah, like, just apologise, move on. That's all you really can do. But here we go then. Everyone lined up for the formation lap. 12 laps for the sprint race. Not too dissimilar to what we just seen. So it's more just a reverse grid of last race. Obviously the top 8 reverse. So Harv in pole position ahead of Pistol, who's going to join him on the front row, ahead of Crowix and Hawkpie, who make up the second. Folksky and Kimmy, H. Taylor and Little Jim in 7th and 8th. Taylor starts in front. Can he hang on, or will Jim get in front and carve his way through the field? Chris in P9, CDM P10, Lucifer in 11th, Immortal P12, SYG Ghost in P13, Hatton P14, Frostbit in 15th, Sanchez 16th, and Kieran rounding off the grid in P17. With Taylor and Jim right amongst the midfield, could we see a nice little hefty ding-dong battle between the two? Of course, Taylor in front and is going to want to get his way through the field, but Jim's going to want to get himself in front of Taylor and through the field. Will these two work together? Will they fight it out? Will they get swamped from Chris and CDM behind? If they do that, they are putting themselves at risk. They're right amongst the midfield now. They're not in front with clean air. They've got a lot of cars they need to negotiate their way through.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how Jim gets on. In the first race, he literally had clear air the entire race. He didn't have to overtake anybody, even after his pit stop. He had 5-second gap to anybody in front of him. So now he's actually got to negotiate his car through some gaps and some late braking zones. Let's see how he actually does manage to control the vehicle and see how he can push himself towards the front of the grid again.
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar to Mercedes in real life. You know, put it in clean air and it'll fly. But as we saw with Valtteri Bottas and Lewis Hamilton and Monza, they really did find it a tough time carving their way back through the field. Everyone on the hard tyres, though, of course, no mandatory pit stop in the sprint races, so it is just a dash to the end. 12 laps on these hard tyres. Tyre wear is going to play a massive factor in this race. Obviously you've got to take one set the entire distance, and we saw them pitting around the lap 6 or 7 mark, so this is almost double the distance on the same set of tyres.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you say that as well, because in the last race we saw the fastest lap came on the last lap of the race from H. Taylor, so the hard tyres does look like they can hold some grip, but it just depends how hard they push throughout the race and to how much life they take out of them as to see what grip they've got left when it gets to sort of a lap 11 and 12.
Yeah, well, we'll just have to wait and see when we get there. At the moment, we've got everyone lining up onto the grid. Hatton, the only one disqualified from the formation lap, so they've all kept it sensible and now lining up. And no silly mind games like we saw last time. Harv and Pistol both lining up onto the grid nicely. No backing up of anything. They've got their tyres warmed up. They're lovely white wall hard tyres. We've got the UNI Virtuosi ahead of the Carlin, ahead of the ART Grand Prix. Hawkeye in fourth as well. This could get spicy down towards turn 1. Just got to wait for the green flag to be shown. Here it is then. Just waiting for the 5 red lights to illuminate your screen. Any second now. Here we go. To 5 red lights for the reverse grid sprint race here for OBF1, and we're underway in racing. It's a pretty poor start from the pole sitter. He's almost stalled, so Pistol zooms into P1 position there, and almost 4 abreast coming down towards CDM on the inside, coming towards turn 1. There goes Hawkeye trying to get the lead of into turn 1. Everyone just trying to file their way through. A lot of contact going on as everyone just tries to file their way through. Very nicely done from Kraus to get himself up a few positions as well. Upper position, yellow flash who set the one. It looks as though a couple of spinners. It looks as though the pole sitter of Harv is spun. Very, very poor start from him then. Definitely not what he wanted to do. Very, very poor initial start off the line. Hawkeye up the inside of Kraus then towards turn 4, and under pressure is Kraus from Foski's. There's a bit of contact, and Foski's been sent round into the S's. Managed to Tokyo drift it and bring it back round, but H. Taylor, an incredible start up to P5, and Jim only up 1, and he needs to get his way up the field. Up the inside into turn 8 he goes on Lucifer, who's going to keep it on the outside. There's a contact up in front. Kimmy's been put in the wall, and H. Taylor's compromised. He's retired from the session. Yellow flash who set the 2. Absolute calamity, and there's contact, more contact with the dams as Lucifer's been sent round from, I believe that is CDM. Absolute carnage these opening lap.
I don't know whether H. Taylor may have picked up some damage there as well, because it looked like somehow they came together and Kimmy came across the front of H. Taylor. It'd be interesting to see what sort of speed he's got at the moment, if he does suffer from any understeer here. I can't see him slowing down too much at the moment. Little Jim's not very close to it, so it looks like he might have escaped that without any damage, but certainly an interesting moment there, and I'm looking forward to seeing after the race how they actually came together and what happened there, as it's left Kimmy out of the race, and H. Taylor's managed to carry on. He's in 4th position at the moment.
Yeah, luckily Pistol leads the grid up after lap 1, but here's Jim and Taylor, the 2 tyrants of the first race. Then Taylor goes defensive to the inside. Jim looks to the inside, but then has to quickly pull to the outside, side by side through turn 1. Taylor's just going to hang on there. No DRS just yet, I don't think. We're only on to lap 2, unfortunately, so it's just a bit of a timing glitch as well. Kraus and Hawkeye up in front. Hawkeye trying to get the lead of the race. He's going to send it under the brakes and soar around the outside of Pistol, who's just going to keep it on the inside. They're still going to be side by side towards the S's. Is Pistol going to have to back out of this one? An incredible move from Hawkeye then to take the lead of the race ahead, but is H. Taylor and Jim still battling? It looks as though they are. Kimmy has left the session after his retirement. Under pressure is Jim from Kraus as they all try and fire their way through. So Jim turning the offensive into defensive and having to look in his mirrors more so, but it looks as though Taylor's now caught up onto the back of the leaders.
Kraus has come in too deep as well, and he's hit the back of Jim and spun himself out. It's a sloppy lap so far from Kraus there. He was in a good position when we came across the start-finish line, but he's found himself down in 8th position now. So Jim's now going to get himself on the way back up towards Taylor, who finds himself behind Pistol, who we all know is very hard to get past as it is, who's currently battling Hawkeye. So Taylor's going to want to get this move done as soon as possible and try and pull away from Lil Jim.
Oh, but here's H. Taylor then. Is he going to make swift work of Pistol? Not something we often see. Very, very close together as we come to end lap 2. And then, of course, DRS is going to be enabled. But Pistol around the outside of H. Taylor, trying to hold off the Tyrant, driven off the track as H. Taylor leaves him a little bit too much room. It could be said, but the two Carlin guys going together. It looks as though Pistol just sort of understeered off the track. Folsky with a fast lap. H. Taylor under pressure, all trying to fire their way through. Very much white lining it, waiting for Jim to pull through. 3 abreast into turn 1. There's contact, sandwiched together. Taylor's driven Pistol off the track, nothing they could do there, and Jim's going to take both positions. They're all trying to fire their way through. Very sloppy stuff as Pistol sends itself back onto the track ahead of H. Taylor. They're still going to be fighting out towards the very end, but has Jim managed to secure himself ahead? It looks as though he has. Pistol's going to send it under the brakes towards turn 4. Not happy at all with this. It looks as though it was just an unfortunate turn of events, and Folsky going to try and make the most of this. To the outside of Taylor, going to be the inside for turn 6. 3 abreast again. There's more contact. All 3 of them off. Oh no!
As H. Taylor's come off worse there. He's dropped all the way down to 9th position after that battle. I think he does actually have some wing damage now as well. They're coming together with Jim and Pete. It looks like both Pete and Taylor picked up some wing damage. Pete still managed to keep it going up in 3rd position, but he's going to come under some serious pressure from CDM now, who in the first race these two had a lovely 10-lap battle. I think it might be a little easier for CDM this time with the damage that Pete has got.
You would expect so, but no surprises from Pete. I mean, we've seen at China, he on Friday he did hold off with some damage, so let's see what he can do in the Formula 2 cars. A little bit more of a wrestle to get it through, but as you say, very unfortunate for Taylor and Pistol. They just, no fault of their own, just got brought together by Jim up the inside. It was just an unfortunate turn of events that everyone trying so desperately to get their way through, and it was just one of those things that unfortunately happened. And with the unpredictability of motorsport, anything can happen, especially when you reverse the top 8 positions. But Jim luckily managed to get away unscathed, and now still setting fastest laps. And on the back of Hawkeye within DRS, is CDM going to do anything to Pete into turn 1? He's got the DRS, he's closing, pulls to the inside. Pete very late to defend, one's later on the brakes. He's going to release the brakes, drive him off the track again. They're still going to be trying to battle it out. A lot less clean in this race than it was last, but looks as though CDM's going to claim that position. Just unfortunate, they both outbroke themselves there. And this Pistol going to send it to the inside, looks to brake late, but is going to have to release off the brakes to get it up the inside. Very smart stuff there, and CDM gives them the space. Side by side they go then for P3. Still going to have it towards the S section, and there's CDM around the outside, going to turn into the inside. Is Pete going to keep his foot in? Yes, he is, even with the damage. Turns into the inside for turn 8, and then Krawick's now on the back of them both. He's got a bit of damage though, so might not be as quick as he would have liked. Lucifer as well, getting himself involved. Here comes Krawick's then to the outside of turn 10. Can he do anything? Yes, he can. He's going to send it under brakes. Not something you often see, but he's locked the rears and he's slid all the way over the track. Going to come on, nearly hit the Dams car there, but up at the front we've got Jim and Hawkeye both battling it out. Looks like Jim again with his dominant pace is going to be trying to take the lead to the outside of turn 13. Going to try and go over and under on Hawkeye. Not going to turn into anything towards turn 13 unfortunately on this occasion, but he's going to wait and he's going to get the DRS. But Jim with some amazing pace just got his head down and put the consistent laps in. An absolute monster then when it comes to Formula 2.
Yeah, whilst that was all going on as well, I noticed Taylor ducked into the pit lane. He's picked himself up another 5-second penalty for speeding. So the pit entry hasn't been very friendly to Taylor at the moment. So this is going to be a race that he's not going to want to remember. As we see Jim now making the move for first position. He's on the outside on the racing line. Let's see if Hawkeye's going to send it back up the inside. No, he thinks better of it. Tucks in behind, and Jim is through. And let's see if he can drive away now.
You would expect them to. I mean, Hawkeye will have a bit of DRS come up and up the hill, but it doesn't look like it's going to be enough. Is that Hatton now up the inside of F1 Immortal? Yes, it is. Not quite going to be reverse grid pulse in as it is the reverse grid race, but up into P8 nonetheless. Very nicely done from Hatton. And then Harv, of course, looking to make amends and get redemption for a very poor start. He looked as though to just not go anywhere off the lights and just almost stopped in the middle of the track and just fell backwards off the line. But it looks as though he's recollecting himself and he's now on the back of Krawick's for P6 after a very, very eventful first few laps. And now drawing to a close as the first half of the race will be going into the final half at the end of this lap. So yeah, very, very chaotic first half of this race.
We've got a bit of a train forming up now behind Pete as well. He's managing to hold on to some positions. To be fair, CDM hasn't pulled that far away from him, even though Pete has got the damage. But we can see, what, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like a 5-car train now behind CDM. and Pete is managing to keep himself at a good pace with the damage he's got.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we often see from Pete, is he just gets his head down, he can still drive even with his with damage, and he's keeping it with the DRS nicely, but it looks as though CDM may just pull out, and if he can keep it with him, that's going to be a saving grace from Lucifer behind, who's going to be right behind him, eager to get that P4 position. Harv and Crowix as well, looking to have it out. It looks as though Pete is more just a mobile chicane in everyone's way, and really bunching up the grid, making it very interesting as Crowix goes in deep. Jim with the fastest lap, no surprise there, 41.1, very quick turn. His Harv pulls to the inside, he'll have DRS, he's going to soar past, surely with this overspeed, over Crowix, but maybe Crowix is going to have a bit of saving grace. He's now behind, maybe going to dummy to the inside, but just going to think better of it. Knows Harv's got the pace, maybe going to go to the outside. Pistol parking nicely on the apex and just keeping it in fourth. Absolute defending god is Pete at keeping that car where it needs to be. Just parks it nicely, puts it where it needs to be on the track, and just holds everyone off as H. Taylor picks himself up a 3-second penalty. Absolute nightmare then for the man who currently sits P16.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's going to be able to manage to claw back any points this time, so it's going to turn out to be a very good event for Lil Jim here, obviously with Taylor second in the championship standings at the moment. Oh, as we see some contact there, it looks like that was Harv actually, who's picked himself up some wing damage. He's locked up and come in late and hit the back of Lucifer, so Harv's day goes from bad to worse after his start. He's run wide there on the next exit as well, so just see a car going sideways. Is that Crowix again? I think we're seeing Crowix sideways more times than we have forward at the moment in this race.
Well, he's definitely not having the most eventful day as we come onto lap 6, but Crowix, yeah, he seems to be on the charge backwards more than he is forwards, but Harv, yeah, picked up some more damage. Looks as though the UNR Virtuosi cars do not like Bahrain one bit. You can see how wide he's going then through turn 12 just to try and keep the car keep the speed going, keeps the foot in. But yeah, Callum Ilock's car did not have a fun time in Bahrain this time last season at all, so in real life, so it looks as though that's transferring over to the game. Of course, Callum Ilock went into the back of Jehan Jaruvala's car to cost him the championship, and then in Sakir had another retirement as well, I believe, or couldn't quite convert. But here comes Lucifer then to the inside of Pistol. Should be a pretty plain sailing move, going to go all the way to the right hand side, bring it back over to the left to open up the corner, and is Pistol going to respond? He is, and there goes Lucifer, very swamped on the inside, so Pistol's going to use the foot in and keep the foot in around the outside, a bit shaky from the what I believe to be Dam's car behind on the back of the Carlin. There's yellow flash, you set to 3. It looks as though Ghost has retired from the session in the pit lane, so no full course yellow, but Harv still with the damage, still keeping it with him, so it looks like damage isn't too bad for these guys out there today.
Yeah, I mean, Pistol's done himself very well there, because he's obviously dropped out of the DRS zone. Lucifer got past him on the start-finish line just as we went through the activation zone. So as we've come out of turns 1 and 2, Pete's actually had the DRS up the hill, managed to keep himself ahead. So Lucifer's going to be looking to try and get himself ahead again, and Harv with the damage as well is staying very close. It looks like he has got significantly more damage than Pete's got. It's actually, I'm quite shocked to see he's actually keeping the pace up at the moment.
Yeah, well, Harv is full of surprises. Of course, a very quick driver, and is transferred over to Formula 2. Of course, very different machinery is Formula 2. Very harder to drive. Only 6-speed gearboxes compared to the 8 speeds of Formula 1. And of course, no energy recovery system. Just the turbocharged V6 as Crowix looks to get to the inside. Has a little look to turn 13, but can't quite convert as Sanchez picks himself up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. But can we just say, commendments to Hawkpie. He's kept that gap to Jim sort of closing at a very slow rate. It's only gone up to 3 seconds since he's got past, so he has got some really good pace to stay with little Jim at this point. It's not sort of gone up exponentially, it's sort of gone up at a couple of tenths a lap, so he's definitely kept the pace and looking good for a P2 finish, and CDM looking good for P3. But here comes Lucifer to the outside of Pistol, then pretty much rolls reverse for the lap previously. Can Pistol send it under brakes? He has done previously, and there goes Lucifer to the outside. He's going to brake a little bit too late, going to have the inside for turn 2, going to send it a bit deep, bit of contact between the rear and the side pod as they run once again up the hill. Still going to be side by side. These guys do not give an inch at all, especially from Pete's side, but there goes Lucifer, going to send it to the outside as Harv looks to the inside as well, all trying to file their way through, and Crowix looking for a gap. Is Harv going to send it? Yes, he is. It's towards turn 5 and 6. I'm going to send it to the inside, mount the curb, and get sent in deep though, and Crowix going to keep his foot in and try and find the gap, nearly 3 abreast, and there goes Harv to the inside of Lucifer, and he's going to claim that P5 position, all while Pete is trying to get outside that DRS zone, and it looks as though the detection point is now. He may have just gotten outside the DRS zone.
Yeah, it's a lovely bit of driving there from Pete. He's noticed that the guys behind having a little bit of a battle. He's put his foot down, and it could keep him ahead. And we've only got a few laps left of this race now, and with these guys battling behind, it's just what he needs with the damage that he's got there. It's not going to let these guys catch him up very quickly.
Especially if they keep battling as they are. Lucifer, of course, does not want to give that up, and Harv just sent it up the inside. Did not, just wanted to get that move done, wants to get after Pete, and even with the damage, has some exponential pace compared to the guys around him, but a bit sideways coming off turn 13. That's going to scare Lucifer a bit as he tries to dart to the inside, and it looks as though Crowx is going to try and follow him through. Maybe 3 abreast. This didn't work last time. They are going to be 3 abreast with Harv on the outside, Lucifer on the inside, and Crowx in the middle as they all try and fire their way through. Just going to give each other enough space. Are they still 3 abreast on the outside? No, Crowx spun round a little bit, still going to keep his foot in and have DRS towards the pit straight.
It looks like Crowley's tried to break early and give himself a little bit of a slingshot up the straight, but as he's come out of the corner, he's sort of slid into the side of one of the other cars, and it sent him sliding, but we see him just get past Harv there, and then is Harv going to try and come back at him? No, it looks like Crowx has got that move done now, and Lucifer, now see a 1.9 second gap to Pete as well. So Pete's done everything he needed to while this battle was going on behind him, and that could see him get in 4th position at the end of the race.
Definitely could. I mean, he's just given it what it needs to do and just managed to hold on. Crouch sending it to the inside of Lucifer. That was never going to work. Always going to get turned into there. Sending it to the inside of a very quick corner. Always ends in disaster, and that is completely Crouch's fault as he's spinning himself around for another time. Going to send Hatton and Chris very wide as they're still going to be fighting, and he's made contact with, I believe, Hatton behind and given him damage as well. So Crouch very much just don't even know what's going on. He's going side by side with his teammate, going to go round the outside and hold him up, going to drive himself off the track. Is Crowix. He's going to keep his foot in maybe and come back onto the track nearly into the side of his teammate. So Crowix having an absolute nightmare of a Grand Prix.
It's like he's lost the head at the moment. He's doing everything wrong. He's braking late. He's sending moves in where he shouldn't be. He just needs to compose himself and try and get himself past his teammate and just think of the points at the end of the race now. He's made the mistake, he's dropped back in the positions, get your head back down and start racing again.
Yeah, exactly. Just one mistake. He got too desperate to go for that move on Lucifer into turn 6, and luckily Lucifer didn't get spun around because of it. Usually in real life that would be the guy on the outside getting spun, but Crouch just sent it to the inside of a corner where you're naturally just flicking it in, so it's very difficult for Lucifer to turn back out of the corner. So I've always said, if you're going to send it to a near flat out corner, expect to get turned in on, because it's never going to work. If you send it under brakes into a corner where you don't really need to brake, it's very difficult. As Hatton tries to close the gap onto Chris under brakes, isn't quite going to convert, and Lucifer slowly chipping away back at Pete's leads in P4, and he really wants this position. Hard with the 3-second penalty, is going to be an outside shot, but with the damage is going to find it very difficult to catch back up. Lap 10 of 12, and Jim is completely wiping the floor with everyone up in front. Absolute class of the field. He is rapid around Bahrain.
Yeah, he's just got his head down again and driven, hasn't he? As soon as he got himself into that clean air, I mean, Hawkeye managed to hang with him for a couple of laps, but we're just seeing fastest lap after fastest lap after fastest lap now from Jim. So he's definitely got his pedal to the metal. It looks like Lucifer's actually caught back up to Pete again. So we're going to have a couple of lap battle here. Let's see if Pete can keep Lucifer behind just for these last 2 laps. He's done it well so far for the race, but Lucifer, obviously with the undamaged vehicle, he's caught back up towards Pete now. Just depends how much of Pete's tyres he's used while trying to defend with the wing damage.
Yeah, I mean, he's closed up very, very quickly. Can Pete hang on? He's got 2 more laps as Jim goes even faster at 40.3, just finding more time as the car gets lighter. It looks as though those hards are not at all wearing down as much as we thought they would have, and either Jim is massaging them very well, or those hards are just absolutely unstoppable, because if Jim's going at that blistering pace, it's surely going to be very difficult for the hards to keep up. But here comes Lucifer then, pistol to the inside. He then has a bit more flexibility, moves to the inside. Lucifer goes even deeper all the way to the right hand side to get the move, but is Pete going to swoop around the outside once again? Yes, he is. Lucifer has to mount the curb. That is something you do not want to do. You want to claim the corner for yourself. yourself, being the guy on the inside, you have the right to run them out of road on the outside. You don't want to be the one to back down. Do not mount the curb. There's yellow flags to set the one. It looks as though there's been a bit of chaos as Immortal is on the grass and he's under pressure from Hatton, who's going to be side by side with him, pushing him off the track. Ding dong battle, nearly 4 wheels off the track is Hatton, but he's going to claim this position on the outside, keep his foot in. Are they going to run side by side through turn 4? Immortal on the inside, Hatton on the outside. Very, very stretched bit of racetrack, and then is going to Hatton into P9. Not too sure what happened there, but yellow flags nonetheless, and Frostbit with his AI car just seems to have a bit of damage because of it. So a lot has happened back towards the rear end of the grid.
Yeah, I'm still riding on board with Pete at the moment. He's managed to keep Lucifer behind, but Lucifer's looking left and right to any way that he can try and get past. He's got to be clever. He's got to try and set Pete up here to get himself past on a straight, and then, as you say, make the corner your own when you come in under the braking zone, which he hasn't done yet. He's been a little bit too, what should we say, pessimistic on the corners. He needs to go full throttle, hit the brakes late, and get himself in, because he's going to be able to get the exit speed ahead of Pete without the damage. But he may not know that Pete has got the damage, to be fair. He just might think that Pete's very good at defending. So we're coming into the last lap now. Obviously, Little Jim's 9 seconds up the road from Hawk by now, so as long as he keeps it on the track, that's going to be a double win for Jim, which turns out to be a great event.
Yeah, Lucifer looking to the inside. He just isn't committed enough to get past Pistol. He needs to get up the inside and then take the outside of the corner, run Pete out of road, because that's how Pete's got him. He's kept him pinned to the inside. When Lucifer goes up the inside, he doesn't claim the corner. He just gets himself enough up the inside to say, hey, I'm here, give me some space, but doesn't fully get it up the inside, says, move out of the way, this is my position. Lucifer needs to be more aggressive, and he's running out of time, he's running out of opportunities, but Pete, hats off to him, is defending brilliantly with this. There's more yellow flags to set the one. It looks as though Immortal's gone off again into turn 1, 2 and 3. Don't know what's happened there between himself, Hatton and Frostbit. Must have been a bit of carnage further back, but Lucifer and Pistol, the closest battle going on track at the moment. Lucifer running out of time to get this move done. Just needs to set up the move down towards turn 11, probably his last chance too. He's very close, he's got the DRS, he's got the slipstream. Pistol to the inside to defend. Lucifer confident he can get it around the outside, doesn't decide to swoop to the inside, but he's going to soar around the outside, is he? Pistol going to run him out of racetrack, and very rightly so. He was not fully alongside, and Lucifer, there was plenty of space on the inside there, but Pistol just once again keeping the track his own as Jim sets the fastest lap to cross the line and take the double win. And Hawkpie a few moments later will come across to take a well-deserved P2, and across the line is going to take it with a 3-second penalty for Harv, as once again he seems to be struggling, but with damage you can't really blame him. P6 across the road, but here comes Lucifer, then he's going to keep his footing on the outside. Is it going to be enough to get the move? Unfortunately not. CDM in third, Pistol very well held to take fourth with Lucifer close behind, and then Harv a few moments later in P6. What a race.
Great racing from Pete again there. The defense, it's a defensive masterclass. Every time you see him come under pressure, he just knows exactly where to put his car and where to get the pace out of the corners. So fair play to Pete there, having damage and still bringing it back in fourth place. Obviously we can't take it away from Jim. Jim's driven an absolutely brilliant event. Both races he's been the class of the field. He's driven away from everybody that's come near him. H. Taylor's going to be annoyed with the way that his race has gone, especially this second race. He finds himself in 15th position. Which isn't going to help him at all in the championship standings. But yeah, great win for Jim.
Definitely great double win for Jim. I mean, he just got his head down in the first race, got his head down again in this race. As soon as he was in front, he knew what he needed to do. Folksky and Taylor again going to be a bit disappointed. A great first race for Folksky, but just got caught up in a bit of a battle earlier on in this race to find himself P14, and Taylor, just early lap incidents cost him today. He just don't even know what happened, just wasn't with it for the second race, had to cut through the field and found himself down in P15, but fair enough to him. He finished the race, didn't know what could happen, could have been a safety car that brought him right back into contention, so he's driven well. He's driven with a mature head and managed to finish the race. Every lap is experience, and Jim, rightly so, driver of the day. Incredible driving from him, and a great second round to the season for him. I'm not too sure how the first round played out, but this second round has definitely been reminiscent of how quick Jim is. Even in a Formula 1 car, he's gone down to Formula 2, and he's carried that with him. He's just so fast.
Yeah, it was a brilliant display from Jim. He was on top of the standings coming into this event with H. Taylor in second. So now obviously he's had the 2 wins and Taylor's failed to score points in that second race. We're going to see a bit of a gap gap form at the top of the championship here after only 2 events. So brilliant from Jim.
Absolutely incredible. So it was a 6-point gap between the two after the first round. He scored 25, so it's extended then to 11, and then with 17 extra points, it's going to extend to around about what if I make out about 28 points difference between the two. So incredible display from Jim, and Taylor just not on it, but still a long way to go in the championship. It's only been 2 rounds in. A lot can happen, and the luck can definitely turn away from Jim's favour. But his pace definitely a very good statement to make, and getting himself up, that's going to be a massive confidence boost to Jim. But that is going to wrap up tonight's proceeding, guys. I've been Zach. I've had Mitch alongside me. It's been a great couple of races. I hope you all have enjoyed, and until next time, guys, goodbye.